What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined by Daniel Starkand. Daniel, it's the morning of the NLDS. The postseason roster finally announced. Craig Kimbrell left off. Caleb Ferguson left off. Hanser Alberto left off. Which of those three for you was the most surprising?
I'd say the most surprising for me was Kimbrell, just because part of me was expecting that just his pedigree would lead to him being on the roster. I know they removed him from the closer role. But I don't know. It just feels like, the Dodgers like to stick with those veteran guys. So me personally, and you as well, we both had Kimbrell off our personal rosters, but there's still part of me that was expecting them to put him on.
Yeah, I think the Alberto versus Miguel Vargas was an interesting one for the same reason, because Alberto was a guy who's been around, like he's sort of a veteran, even if he doesn't have a ton of postseason experience. It is a guy that you felt like they intentionally went and got after last postseason. And then Vargas comes up, a big prospect, a young guy, but was really, really bad, like a sub 500 OPS. And yet Alberto will be in the clubhouse, will be in the dugout. You get the positive energy of Alberto. He just can't play. So that to me was maybe the most surprising, only because I agree with you that the Kimbrell piece wasn't surprising to me at all. And I thought Graterol Ferguson, which we can get into here in a moment, was also on the not surprising list. I had Vargas over Alberto. How surprised were you by that decision?
I wasn't super surprised. I think a lot of people make a lot of the defense, and there's no question that Alberto is a better defender. And if if the Dodgers, let's say they did need like a late inning defensive replacement, obviously he's a much better option. But I just don't see, especially in a shorter series, I don't really think they're going to need either of those guys for defense. Like, you already have Chris Taylor, who's going to be your utility guy. You have Joey Gallo, who could play in the outfield, probably not going to be in the lineup. So to me, it really came down to, who do you trust more in a pinch hitting situation, and specifically against left-handed pitching? Like, I think, you got Gallo, who's let's say a righty comes in and you need a left-handed pinch hitter. You got Gallo for that. So really the one hole when it came to position players was who could be that right-handed pinch hitting bat against left-handed pitching. And Hanser got plenty of opportunities this season. Unfortunately, didn't really work out for him at the plate. Like you said, great clubhouse guy. It's good that they're still going to be able to have him in the dugout. But as far as who is I trust more in that situation, I'd still lean Vargas, even though he has not succeeded at the major league level. The sample size is really small. He didn't get many opportunities. He had a great minor league season. We know the upside is there. We know he can hit lefties at the minor league level. So to me, I think that's what it came down to, is who do we trust more in that kind of pinch hitting type of situation? And in that sense, I'm not surprised that they went with Vargas.
Yeah, I think everybody's question with Alberto is, does he still get to be in the clubhouse? Does he still get to be in the dugout? And the answer to that's yes. So once you get a yes there, then I'm with you. I mean, you could argue Alberto would have been the fourth choice at shortstop behind Trey Turner, obviously, Chris Taylor, and you could even make a case that Gavin Lux is better at shortstop than Alberto. And then once you move Gavin Lux over, you've got Max Muncy, a number of guys that could play second base as well, Taylor. So I'm with you. There wasn't a defensive need. It comes down to the bat, and I'll take my chances with Vargas. The last one was Dustin May is on the roster. Blake Trinan is on the roster. Those were a couple injury question marks that I think you and I were both confident. Look, we just feel like it's trending in the direction of they're going to give these guys a chance, which meant it was going to come down to Kimbrell, Brewster, Graterol, and Caleb Ferguson. The argument for Ferguson, I think on paper, was that he's a lefty. Andrew Heaney, Alex Vesia, the only lefties in the bullpen, with Heaney being the long guy. He also had a little bit better strikeout numbers, better season numbers, but compared to Graterol, he had struggled mightily over the last week and a half. The counter to all of that is, yes, Ferguson's a lefty. Righties actually hit him far worse than lefties did this year. And so he didn't really have the lefty specialist thing going for him. So I think they end up going with Graterol, a guy they've seen in that spot, a guy that can go multiple innings, a guy that can pitch back-to-back nights. Were you surprised that Graterol was the pick over Caleb Ferguson at all?
So we did our roster predictions, last week when we were in Vegas, and me and you pretty much had the same roster. This was our only difference. I had Graterol and you had Ferguson. To me, they're both good options. Like, that's a good problem to have. If you look at the season numbers, they're both pretty good. I think the reasons you just kind of laid out is really what it came down to. Like, if Ferguson was absolutely dominant against lefties and you could see that as like his role, I think he would have made it, but that's not the case. And you mentioned his falters down the stretch. That certainly didn't help either. And I just think Graterol's a guy who the velocity, we've seen it plays up in October. Like you said, he could go more than one inning at a time. So I think all those different factors led to that. At the end of the day, I think you're kind of splitting hairs between the two. And as you mentioned on Twitter, like both of these guys, whichever made the roster, like they're kind of the low leverage guy. It's not like you're deciding who's going to be your setup man between the two. So, at the end of the day, the last pitcher on the roster is maybe going to pitch one inning in this series or something, depending on how the scores go. But, I wasn't totally surprised by Graterol. That was who I went with. I think that's the right decision if you ask me. So yeah, I wasn't totally surprised.
Yeah, I mean, it speaks to the Dodgers' depth. Like, we're here arguing about should Ferguson have made it, and it's like, this is the beauty of the Dodgers. They can leave a guy off who has like a sub-2 ERA on the season or something like that. We're like, yeah, makes sense. Like, because they have guys ahead of him. We're only talking about the last postseason roster spot offensively and defensively because everything else is really straightforward. The guys that you expect and hope would perform have performed. And so we'll see what happens. It's only a 5-game series. They can change this roster heading into the NLCS if they advance past the Padres. So something to keep in mind there. Hey, we appreciate you guys watching. Of course, make sure you join us tonight. I'm going to be doing a live pregame show about 10 to 15 minutes before first pitch, which is at 6:37. So join me here on the Dodger Blue 1958 YouTube page at about 6:20, 6:25, somewhere in that range. We'll do some previews of the pitching matchups, do a deep dive in Urias, Clevenger, as well as some prop bets and that kind of thing. We'll be doing a live watch along via playback as well. So the link will be in the description of this video. Make sure you join us for that. It's going to be a blast, a place to chat, enjoy the game with Dodger fans. A couple of us from the show will be hopping up on stage throughout the game to give some thoughts, give some analysis, just chat through the game as well. And then, plus tonight, game 1 of the NLDS, we're doing a live post-game show here as well. So again, Dodger Blue 1958 on YouTube. Join us for that one. We'll break down everything that happened. We'll take live questions. Hopefully it's not doom and gloom. Hopefully it's celebrating a comfortable victory tonight. Daniel, I said 6-2. That's my prediction. Dodgers, of course, winning that one tonight. You got a prediction for tonight's game?
I'll go even more lopsided. I'll say 8-1. I love the pitching matchup. Definitely in the Dodgers' favor. We got our best in Julio. Mike Clevenger's a guy that the Dodgers have seen the ball, really well against. And I just think this Dodger team, they know what's at stake. So they're going to come out, ready to swing the bats, and we're going to get a strong Julio performance.
Clevenger over 2.5 runs allowed, currently plus 140. I don't understand that line at all. I would take the over and smash the over on that one. So Scott Gearman and I did a video earlier. If you want to check that out, just breaking down the pitching matchup, kind of asking the question, how important is this game to the Dodgers? Yes, it's one game, but it's also your ace versus Clevenger. How important is that? So check that out. We appreciate you watching. That's Daniel Starkand. My name's Jeff Spiegel. This is DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. Enjoy the rest of your day, and of course, go Dodgers.